Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Paulo. I'm here with a tool that will assist you to diagnose some of the main causes of the conflict that you are with. Mary, your neighbor. Um, I'm very privileged to come this afternoon to help you go through with this tool so that it will assist you to diagnose some of the main causes of the conflict that you are in with Mary regarding the polling of the fence. Now, uh, what is a conflict model? A conflict model is a map or a tool or a lens that help us understand the causes of a conflict along with the actions we take that will help us reach a solution. Conflict model or maps break down complex conflicts into components or parts easy that can help us um, to understand and diagnose the main causes of conflicts. It also helps us to identify and analyze all different kinds of conflict and accurately diagnose so that we can accurately diagnose the causes using this model. It helps us, or also it helps parties to diagnose or frame conflict in a way that has a logic and as well as um, make, as well as it makes sense. This Without the conflict map or tool, uh, we can't really understand the main factors or causes of conflict. So tools or conflict model are tools that really help us to make sense out of the conflict that we normally face. In these cases, will help you diagnose some of the main causes of the conflict that you have with Mary. There are a lot of models out there in the world where people use to diagnose and analyze conflict causes. However, there are eight widely recommended models, in which one of them I will tell you. Why did these eight models? In fact, these eight models were recommended by one of the pioneers in conflict resolution work called Fallon. Um, these models are recommended because of their simplicity and accurateness in identifying or diagnosing conflict. Um, these models uh, are well balanced between simplicity and complexity. Uh, they are recommended because of their clarity in giving direction and guidance to analyze conflict, and also they represent a wide range of different ways to approach and look into conflict. Dimensions model I will introduce to you now is uh, is a model that looks at three layers or areas, and they are cognitive dimension. Uh, it looks at emotional dimension, and it looks at behavioral dimension. The model identifies how separating a conflict into these three dimensions, which can help a lot in identifying strategies to work on each dimensions. Now, cognitive or perceptual dimension, it looks at how the disputants or the conflicting parties think about and perceive conflict. For example, parties hold a belief that their own needs, wants, or values are incompatible with others. Whether it is true or not true, we never know. Uh, Objectively, people sometimes have facts. Uh, they are faced with specific events and other, information that they base their perception on, uh, which makes them to behave the way they behave in when it comes to conflict and assessing um, their situation. On the subjective aspect of it, which is the beliefs and motives, um, you know, perception aspect. I mean, what I meant was the subjective aspect of uh, this dimension can also impact from exploring uh, solutions. In other words, the cognitive dimension relates to how we think about and frame conflict to ourselves and to those who we have conflict with. So the second dimension is emotional dimension. Uh, at the emotional dimension, people react emotionally apart from their perception, and it is important to assess the conflict from the emotional perspective and understand what emotions the parties relate to and how we think about and frame conflict to ourselves and others. Um, like I said, people uh, react emotionally apart from their perception, and it is important to assess the conflict from emotional perspective and understand what emotions the parties are carrying in relation to the conflict and how they may affect the resolution part of the conflict. And the third level of dimension is behavioral dimension. Apart from our perception and emotions, we all make choices about what actions or inactions um, we take and behave in response to the conflict at hand. It is the most observable behavior. For example, we may be so defensive or we may be so aggressive uh, depending on how we feel and how we perceive a conflict. Um, Now, let's see some of the diagnosis of the conflict that you and Mary were in this conflict. At the cognitive or perception dimension, uh, Mary perceived that your children were throwing uh, dirt and rubbish and ball into a yard. She also perceived that it was a Greek way of life, that playing loud music and party all night and on Sundays and everything. I mean, all these things that were going on. It was perceived. Mary perceived that it was a Greek thing, and also uh, Mary also perceived in this conflict that you and your wife uh, were too lazy to teach your children English, and what she also perceived that what the children said in Greek to her was like they were swearing at her, kind of, because she did not understand the children very, very well. On the other hand, you also perceived that Mary was too ignorant, Mary was too reluctant, and she did not want to talk about her issues with you directly. Um, at the emotional level, Mary was feeling sad. Mary was, feeling sad, and she was too emotional. She was down with stress because of a illness. She was, feeling sad because her husband passed away and her children left her and all this kind of thing. So at this emotional level, she went through a lot of feelings, and you also felt that Mary was not, kind enough to you because she yelled at your children, she was lecturing your children, so you did not uh, feel very well. At the I mean, behavioral level, Mary was angry and she called the police. She was annoyed, so she called the police. She was throwing rotten things onto your side. Um, and also, you thought that Mary doesn't want to talk about this issue anymore because, and then you were angry. Um, at the Some tips on how to go about this is you at the you know cognitive level, you try to identify some of the assumptions that Mary is giving. You try to assess some of her stories. Other, is there any other data available that you can, base and then question the interpretation of those information that Mary is giving? Uh, at the uh, emotional level, try to listen to a side of the story. Try to validate all those stories that you hear from Mary. Try to let Mary vent off feelings and emotions and all this that she has. Try to remove some of the triggering things that she is giving at this point in time. At the behavioral level, try to identify the aggressors, things that are causing aggression. Try to identify or try to uh, identify some of those things that is making Mary to avoid conversation with you, and also try to identify and put on the table some of the triggering aspects of uh, triggers that are aspects, I mean, causes that are triggering your behavior and all this kind of thing. So uh, this model is very uh, relevant to your conflict with Mary, and I suggest it because during this diagnosis, the model assesses the depth of the three important dimensions that we have already mentioned. However, it does not broad. I mean, it does not give all the things that all the causes of the conflict, like communication issues, data issues, all this kind of thing. So there are other, and then interest and all this kind of thing. So there are other things that can help you understand all those aspects. And one of the model that I will always recommend to you is triangle of satisfaction model, which helps you understand the specific type of interest that Mary has, and then you can go about addressing these issues. Like I said earlier, the three dimensions are not restricted to any analyzing the party's interest, but rather focus on deeper and broader area, so relating to how we think about conflict, how we feel about the conflict, and how we behave in response to our feelings towards those conflicts. Thank you so much for listening.